I will now do an overview of my level. So first, I'm going to explain how I started to design this level. I did a very rough sketch of rooms and corridor around it, and the critical path from the entry to the exit. It is pretty linear and is still linear. However, I created multiple paths and rooms around it to create a maze that the players can explore to find treasures or empty rooms with traps and enemies. I created a lot also of elevation so the player can go up or go down to create more depth in the level. However, there's a path that the player will also notice that if you go down, there's some part that you cannot go back up. You give a sense to the player that if you go down, you have to go straight and there's no going back. This create a main path that the player will also notice that he has to explore all the other room beforehand and then jump down the hole. And then inside that hole, I created multiple corridors which create a very big maze on the ground that the player has to navigate to be in the darkness with a torch and then find the exit to the level. After that, I start decorating the level with the assets I've found in the store, and we create a dungeon and crypt ambience. Because it's in the crypt, we have to create the main theme, which is darkness. Since most room is in the darkness, I created many light opportunity from the torch and candles to create lighting inside the level. Of course, I did not light the whole level. The darkness has to be still the main theme of my level, which is why there's a lot of corners and even rooms that are still in complete darkness. The player will have a tool called a torch. He can use it to navigate in that darkness, but he can also light up some torch in the rooms or corridors to give more light to the level. This will give him an opportunity to see that he already visited the room and he doesn't have to come back. And then after creating the whole lighting and set dressing the level, I started adding more enemies. Enemies hidden in the darkness, enemies in the open. And then I started adding chests. So chests are also hidden in the darkness that the player has to navigate. Sometimes he won't be able to see them until he uses torch and walk deeper. The player has to explore and be on his guard all the time because he's very limited to the vision, but he can still hear footsteps from the enemies, which create a very horror ambience. This is one of the main concepts for my level and why I create that kind of lighting and exploration features. I also added my 3D models. I added the keys, not in this level, but there are keys in another level which is used for puzzle. So the player has to find those keys to open gates. And I have doors in my level. It's this one. It cannot be open. It's just there for decoration and show that the door is locked and you cannot be open. I also have a potion that the enemy dropped, a very low chance to drop. The player can pick it up to restore the amount of potion he has in his inventory. All 3D models are made in 3ds Max and Substance for texture purposes.
So my level was fairly on the large side. It is split into 3 different lanes. So as soon as you come out from the main entrance here, You have the choice of going left, the choice of going right. Once you go on the right side, you do have access to the landscape right away. You'll notice some locked doors. If you go on the left side, you'll find the open door with the altar slash ritual room. In context, this is pretty much like a bar slash lounge area with the whole medieval theme. Very, very old school. You also have the torture, the dungeon room in the back left here. Like I mentioned before, my room is mainly for exploration, so there isn't a lot of combat that has to be done. There is going to be a few ads, a few AIs here and there, but it's mainly you have to look around if you want to access all of the chests that are in it. So there's one in the landscape, one in the other altar room on this side over here. If you do want to access all the chests, you have to actually go and find the 2 keys that are in the level. There is some secret passageways right over here as well. The 3D models that I've created for my level consisted of the shield. This was pretty much to determine other treasure hunters that were in the crypt before. Maybe didn't make their way out, obviously. I have them laying around the tables and the little sections here and there to pretty much show that other treasure hunters have tried to come through the crypt before. Second asset I did, as I mentioned in my level overview, it is a bar slash lounge kind of area, so I have some of these mugs here, these wooden slash metal mugs that I created for the level as well. And the third asset that I created was pretty important. It was the chest for our game. So it's part of the main blueprint. So as soon as you go up to these, you press E, they open up, and that's going to be the third asset that I created for my level.
Originally, when I built this level, what I had envisioned was a level that can trick the player, or a level that forces the player to engage in combat. I got both done in this level. That's where the spike pit trap and the monster house come in. So in order to create this level, I started off with a gray boxing. After that, I added in this set dressing. I created this spike pit, which kills the player. Then I created the shape for the monster house. After that, our team lead Vong programmed so that when the player touches this chest here, it'll close this gate, and the player will be trapped in this room with 3 monsters or more. When the monsters are killed, the gate will go back up, and the player will be free. After that, I created the final room. The final room is what leads the player to the next level. In order for the player to get to the next level, this door must be opened, and in order to open it, the player must find a statue which is located over here. When the player touches the statue, the door will open and the player will be able to move on.